life is hard. I come here to find a job, but what I must do, I must wait. I must wait for that job. I don't know when I will get a job, when I'll get a house for me.
Yeah, our court stepped to see me after sleeping on the streets.
Why does a state as vibrant and opportunity-rich as Nevada, home to the glittering lights of Las Vegas, continue to grapple with a homelessness crisis that only deepens? Beneath the surface lies a harsh reality. Extreme heat waves in the summer, bitter cold in the winter, and thousands left without shelter, exposed to the elements.
Lost my job, lost my lease.
Much like the devastation caused by Tropical Storm Barry, which left communities vulnerable and displaced, Nevada's homeless population faces daily threats to health and survival. But unlike a sudden storm, this crisis is slow-moving, relentless, and rooted in systemic issues. It demands not just compassion, but urgent structural solutions. The numbers paint a grim picture, one that feels almost too heavy to bear. In southern Nevada, centered in Clark County, the 2024 point-in-time pit count revealed 7,906 people living without stable housing, a sharp rise from 6,566 in 2023, and far higher than the 5,645 counted in 2022. Across the state, 8,666 individuals were homeless in 2023, placing Nevada ninth in the nation with a rate of 222 per 100,000 residents, well above the national average of 174. In northern Nevada's Washoe County, 1,690 people faced homelessness in 2023, while 410 others were scattered across the state's rural counties, 314 of them without any shelter at all. These figures, though stark, capture only a single night, likely underestimating the true scale of the crisis. Who are these individuals? They are not mere statistics, but real people with stories, mothers, veterans, young adults, navigating a world that seems to have turned its back. In southern Nevada, the largest group is between the ages of 35 and 44, struggling with economic hardship or personal crises.
And I'm not a drug addict, and I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just someone who doesn't have enough money to live month to month.
Shockingly, African Americans make up 42% of the homeless population in Clark County, despite being only 12% of the area's residents, exposing a painful racial disparity. Women dominate sheltered populations at 64%, while men are more likely to be found on the streets. Veterans, once celebrated for their service, make up 13% of the homeless population, though their numbers dropped 46% in 2024, a rare positive development. Families with children are also on the rise, with 512 individuals recorded in 2022, up from 306 the year before. Chronic homelessness, affecting 34% of the population in 2024, is marked by long-term displacement, often tied to mental illness, substance abuse, or disability. What do you think are the key challenges these groups face that keep them trapped in this cycle? The health burdens are staggering. Nearly 39% of Nevada's homeless struggle with substance abuse. 45% face mental health challenges, and more than half report depression. These conditions are not just personal struggles, they are amplified by a system that often fails to provide consistent care. In Las Vegas, where 53% of the homeless, 4,200 202 people live unsheltered, the streets become both home and battleground, exposing individuals to extreme weather and health risks. This crisis isn't just a Nevada problem. It mirrors the broader struggle to address homelessness across America, where systemic gaps leave millions vulnerable. Nevada's homelessness crisis is a relentless, festering wound fueled by a toxic combination of economic hardship, social inequities, and systemic neglect that refuses to relent.
We are income restricted. There is a minimum of $1,072 a month that you need to make, and you can't go over $3,000 a month.
At its core lies a crippling shortage of affordable housing. Southern Nevada desperately needs 60,000 affordable units, yet only 14 are available for every 100 extremely low-income households, a dismal figure that stands as one of the lowest in the nation. Rent prices have skyrocketed, surging 20% from 2022 to 2023 and a staggering 35% since 2021, while wages have barely kept pace, leaving many struggling to make ends meet. For many, a single financial hiccup, an unexpected bill, or a missed paycheck can spiral into catastrophe, pushing them into homelessness. In Las Vegas, 2/3 of the homeless cite economic desperation as the root cause, exacerbated by Nevada's tourism-heavy economy, which churns out low-wage, unstable jobs that offer little hope for long-term stability. Compounding this issue are the mental health struggles and addiction that ensnare countless individuals in a vicious cycle. Nearly 39% battle substance abuse and 45% wrestle with mental health challenges, yet recovery remains a distant dream without stable housing. Tragically, Nevada's support systems are woefully inadequate, with long-term mental health and addiction services stretched thin or simply non-existent. Social pressures, domestic violence, the loss of pandemic-era rent relief, and other factors push vulnerable families and individuals to the brink. Meanwhile, Nevada's booming population, especially in Las Vegas, has outpaced housing development, forcing both locals and newcomers to scramble for scarce resources in an unforgiving market. Racial disparities deepen this grim reality. African Americans, who make up only 12% of Clark County's population, account for a staggering 42% of its homeless population, trapped by systemic barriers like discriminatory housing practices and limited economic opportunities. Worse still, the state's infrastructure for aid has crumbled. Between 2009 and 2019, Las Vegas lost 71% of its shelter beds, leaving only 504 beds for 4,108 people on the streets in 2020. As a result, many are forced into makeshift encampments or the city's dangerous drainage tunnels, where survival is a brutal daily struggle. To break this cycle, Nevada must act decisively, boldly investing in affordable housing, expanding mental health and addiction services, and dismantling systemic inequities are critical first steps. Only through relentless commitment can the state offer a lifeline to those trapped in this heartbreaking crisis, restoring hope where despair has taken root. The homelessness crisis in Nevada extends far beyond the individuals sleeping on sidewalks or in shelters. It reverberates across the state's economy, social dynamics, and public health systems, creating a complex emergency that demands urgent attention. Economically, the financial toll is staggering. In Clark County alone, Local authorities spend approximately $73,000 per homeless person annually on emergency medical services, law enforcement, and sanitation, more than triple the $21,000 required to provide stable housing. As a result, the county's spending totaled $369 million in 2019, with estimates rising to $731 million by 2024, and a projected $1.1 billion by 2039 if current trends persist. This unsustainable spending mirrors the aftermath of Tropical Storm Barry in 2019, which inflicted over $600 million in damages across Louisiana and neighboring states. Just as Barry's sudden deluge exposed vulnerabilities in infrastructure and overwhelmed communities, the slow-burning crisis of homelessness reveals deep cracks in Nevada's social systems, threatening long-term economic resilience. Socially, the crisis underscores systemic inequalities. African Americans, who make up just 12% of Clark County's population, account for an alarming 42% of its homeless population, an undeniable reflection of long-standing racial inequities in housing access, education, and employment. Simultaneously, families with children are becoming an increasingly visible part of this crisis. Last year, over 13,500 students in Clark County schools were classified as homeless. These young people face immense academic and emotional disruption, often without access to basic stability. Much like the displacements caused by Tropical Storm Barry, where thousands were forced from their homes and left to navigate uncertainty and trauma, Nevada's homeless youth are growing up in a climate of instability that could shape their futures. Public tension is also rising. Lawsuits targeting the $200 million Campus for Hope, a homeless services facility planned in Las Vegas, highlight the conflicting desires for compassionate solutions and concerns about neighborhood safety, particularly regarding its proposed proximity to school. This opposition underscores the difficulty in balancing empathy with public apprehension. On the public health front, the effects are equally devastating. An estimated 40.5% of unhoused individuals suffer from chronic illnesses, often compounded by mental health issues and substance abuse. The 2024 heat wave in Nevada further exposed these vulnerabilities, with reports of inadequate cooling facilities at Las Vegas's Courtyard Homeless Resource Center echoing the life-threatening conditions experienced during Tropical Storm Barry's flooding. Just as Barry overwhelmed emergency shelters and hospitals, Nevada's homelessness crisis places relentless pressure on health infrastructure, deepening a cycle of desperation. From the Strip to the state's rural corners, the ripple effects are clear. This is not a problem that can be ignored, but a storm demanding a statewide systemic response. The homelessness crisis in Nevada casts a dark, unrelenting shadow over the state, profoundly impacting its economy, society, and public health. As I witness this tragedy unfold, I'm struck by its staggering economic toll. In Clark County, authorities spend $73,000 per homeless person annually on emergency services, policing, and sanitation, more than 3 times the $21,000 needed for stable housing. In 2019, the county's spending reached $369 million, with costs projected to soar to $731 million by 2024, and an astonishing $1.1 billion by 2039 if current trends persist. Frankly, it's infuriating to see resources squandered on temporary fixes when prevention and lasting solutions could save millions. Socially, the crisis brutally exposes Nevada's systemic inequalities. For example, African Americans, who make up just 12% of Clark County's population, account for a staggering 42% of its homeless population. This reflects deep, persistent barriers in housing and employment that only deepen their suffering. Moreover, the growing number of homeless families with children is heartbreaking. Last year, 13,500 students in Clark County schools were classified as homeless, battling academic setbacks and emotional scars that threaten their futures. At the same time, community tensions are rising, as exemplified by the fierce lawsuits against Las Vegas's $200 million Campus for Hope. Nearby residents, understandably worried about its proximity to schools, clash with advocates for compassion, creating a gut-wrenching divide. Public health also takes a devastating hit. Homeless individuals endure chronic illnesses at an alarming rate, 40.5%, with mental health struggles and addiction only compounding their vulnerability. Extreme weather, like the scorching 2024 heat wave, further endangers unsheltered lives. Reports of inadequate cooling at Las Vegas's Courtyard Homeless Resource Center highlight the cruelty of their plight. Hospitals are overwhelmed, and community resources are stretched thin, trapping people in a vicious cycle of despair. From vibrant cities to remote rural corners, this crisis relentlessly ripples through Nevada, touching every life. In my view, this isn't just a problem, it's a moral failing that demands urgent collective action. We cannot continue patching up symptoms while ignoring the root causes. By investing in affordable housing, addressing systemic inequities, and bolstering public health support, Nevada can begin to heal this gaping wound. The time for half measures is over. We need bold, compassionate solutions now. Despite the strides Nevada has made, the road to resolving the homelessness crisis is fraught with obstacles that feel nearly insurmountable. One of the most glaring limitations is the data itself. The annual point-in-time pit count, conducted in late January, offers only a snapshot of homelessness, reporting 7,906 people in southern Nevada in 2024. While this number is staggering, it likely underestimates the true scope, as many individuals avoid surveys or live in hidden places, like drainage tunnels or remote rural areas. Moreover, starting in 2026, the PIT count will be conducted every 2 years, a change aimed at improving accuracy through better volunteer training, but it risks leaving gaps in understanding the crisis's evolution. How can we be sure we're counting everyone when so many remain invisible to the system? Funding also remains a persistent hurdle. The looming threat of federal budget cuts, which could slash $33 billion from the Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD, including $532 million for homeless programs, casts a dark shadow over Nevada's efforts. Clark County depends on $21 million annually from HUD's Continuum of Care program, while Washoe County receives $3.2 million. These funds support shelters, rapid rehousing, and other critical services, but a reduction could unravel years of progress. Locally, the strain is already evident. Las Vegas has only 504 shelter beds available for 4,108 unsheltered individuals, leaving thousands exposed to the elements. The Courtyard Homeless Resource Center, a lifeline for many, faced criticism in 2024 for inadequate cooling during extreme heat, underscoring how even well-intentioned facilities struggle under pressure. Community resistance adds another layer of complexity. The proposed $200 million Campus for Hope in Las Vegas, designed to provide 900 beds and comprehensive services, has sparked fierce opposition. Residents filed lawsuits, citing concerns about its proximity to schools and neighborhoods, and arguing that the approval process lacked transparency. While these concerns are understandable, they highlight a deeper tension. The desire to help the homeless often clashes with fears about property values and safety. These conflicts delay critical projects, leaving people like the 13,500 homeless students in Clark County schools stuck in limbo, their futures hanging by a thread. Perhaps the most daunting challenge is that current efforts, though valiant, often treat symptoms rather than addressing the root causes. The skyrocketing cost of rent, up 35% since 2021, combined with a shortage of 60,000 affordable housing units, continues to push families to the brink. Mental health and addiction services remain woefully underfunded, with 45% of the homeless battling mental illness and 39% grappling with substance abuse. Without addressing these foundational issues, Nevada risks perpetuating a cycle where temporary fixes, like clearing encampments under Assembly Bill 263, merely displace people without offering lasting solutions. The bill, passed unanimously in June 2025, allows Clark County to remove highway encampments, but critics argue it only shuffles the problem rather than solving it. These challenges present a sobering picture, one that demands not just effort, but a fundamental shift in approach. Despite the challenges, there is a path forward, one that demands bold vision and unwavering commitment. First and foremost, Nevada must tackle its housing crisis head-on. The state's shortage of 60,000 affordable units is a gaping wound, and closing it will require massive investment. Clark County's $66 million allocation in 2023 for 1,273 units is a start, but it's just a drop in the bucket. Projects like Nevada Hand's $53 million Henderson development, which will provide 144 apartments for low-income families and foster youth, should serve as a model for scaling up efforts. Assembly Bill 540's $133 million for affordable housing is promising, but Nevada needs to double down. Expanding tax incentives for developers or increasing rent subsidies for low-income households could further accelerate progress. Imagine a state where every family, no matter their income, has a safe place to call home. What would it take to make that a reality? Equally critical is strengthening support services. Mental health and addiction treatment must move beyond patchwork solutions. With 45% of the homeless facing mental health challenges and 39% struggling with substance abuse, Nevada needs comprehensive, long-term programs. Mobile units like the MORE team, which deliver services directly to encampments and tunnels, have proven effective but remain underfunded. Expanding these services, alongside dedicated treatment centers, could help break the cycle of chronic homelessness, which affects 34% of Nevada's homeless population. Training more social workers and reducing burnout among those on the front lines will ensure these services reach those who need them most. Legislative action is another essential piece. Protecting federal funding, such as the Continuum of Care grants, is non-negotiable, as cuts to these funds could devastate Nevada's progress. Locally, policies to prevent evictions, such as extending moratoriums or capping rent increases, could help keep families from falling into homelessness. The success of rapid rehousing programs, which helped 680 of 970 supported households find homes, demonstrates the power of targeted intervention. Expanding these programs, alongside job training and income support, could stabilize vulnerable populations. To address racial disparities, which leave African Americans as 42% of the homeless in Clark County, despite making up only 12% of the population, we must implement tailored initiatives like job programs and housing vouchers for marginalized communities. Conclusion. Nevada's homelessness crisis, with 8,666 people struggling in 2023, exposes the state's economic, social, and moral fault lines. From the 7,906 unsheltered individuals in southern Nevada to the 13,500 students without stable homes, these numbers tell a story of both heartbreak and resilience. New shelters, affordable housing, and legislative reforms offer hope. But the road ahead demands bold action. More homes, better services, and a fierce commitment to fairness. Nevada cannot turn away from this truth. By confronting it head on, the Silver State can forge a future where no one is left behind, healing a wound that has festered far too long.